from Sacramento, California, Stephon Clark's mother, who was killed by police, the mother of Trayvon Martin, Sabrina Fulton, the mother of Eric Garner. The mother of Eric Garner, Sabrina Fulton, and the mother of Michael Brown, killed by police in Ferguson, Missouri, Leslie McSpadden. This morning we started our convention. We had a virtual message from President Biden, then Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, then the Majority Leader of the Senate, Chuck Schumer, and then the Attorney General of the United States, Mr. Garland. It was good to hear the President specifically deal with voting, saying that we could not go back to a time where blacks had to count the amount of jelly beans in a jar, and other statements. I'd not heard the President speak that strongly before. I was glad to hear Attorney General Garland speak and say that he is going to give priority to investigating police departments, which we as National Action Network are committed to. But we are holding this convention in the middle of two situations that we're involved in. The trial around the killing and murder of George Floyd, and now the case in Brooklyn, where we are in Minnesota, where we're dealing with the case of young Mr. Wright. This morning, it was announced they're charging the policewoman that killed Mr. Wright with second-degree manslaughter. Yes. It is my feeling and feelings of many of the delegates here. We do have 125 delegates from our 110 chapters around the country, about 80 represented, that manslaughter 2 is the least she should get. The least, possibly more. When you look at the fact that you're dealing with a 26-year veteran, if she didn't know in 26 years the difference in size and weight of a gun as opposed to a taser, then how was she a veteran in policing? How was she even on the force that long when you know you put your gun on your dominant side and your taser on your least dominant side? So absolutely that raises a point of criminality. But aside from that, I raised the question on her as I raised the question on the Chauvin case. What the media has not dealt with is why were either of these people being subjected to an arrest in the first place? Amen. When you look at the fact that this young man was stopped for expired tags when there is a backup of expired tags in that city, because due to COVID, there's a backlog in getting your tags restored. And even if the tags were expired under normal circumstances, you'd give him a ticket, you would not arrest him. So the fact that they were leading to an arrest in the first place is suspect. In the case of that we're dealing with George Floyd, the story we are told is that he allegedly gave a counterfeit $20 bill and to get a pack of cigarettes, and then left the store, and the person that he gave the money to the counter gave it to the supervisor because he didn't want it to be charged to him when they added up. He told the supervisor this may be counterfeit. The supervisor called the police. Police came. George Floyd was still sitting outside in the car, which tells you that then he may not have known he had a counterfeit bill. If you paid somebody with a counterfeit bill and got out the store, the last thing you do is be sitting around waiting on somebody to call the police. You'd be in flight.
Exactly.
George Floyd should not only not have been killed, George Floyd should not have even been arrested. If they felt it was counterfeit, they should have gone to him and said, do you realize this was counterfeit? How did the police determine he was guilty and be the prosecutor and the jury and the executioner? They would have said to him, did you realize this was counterfeit? If he said no, do you have other money you could pay for this cigarette? You wouldn't put him in handcuffs and throw him to the ground. This whole two situations talk and show the over-policing that is done in the black community. I believe if Wright or George had been of a different color in a different community, they would have at most been given a ticket. They would not be dead. We cannot, as we stand here today, having heard the president, having heard the attorney general and others, we demand that people deal with the question of there are two levels of policing in this country, one for blacks and one for whites, and we want federal law to be passed and enforced as we go for the passing of the George Floyd Justice and Police Act.
Amen.
Let me say this as I bring on our attorney. I have spoken with the family, the Wright family, and have told them National Action Network is with them. We have said that we will cover the cost of the funeral, just as we have many of the funerals here, Gardner's funeral, the Clark's funeral, and others. And no matter, I don't care what settlements they get, we don't even ask for money back. I've never had a GoFundMe page. We do this because this is what we do. Somebody needs to stand with these victims because they didn't plan to be victims. So we intend to be in Minnesota with them. Attorney Crump will take them to make funeral arrangements tomorrow that National Action Network will cover. Because this is not about raising money. This is about being able to do it so that whatever the families get is theirs. Secondly, I want to say that we will be in Minneapolis with the George family. I've been there 3 times already. I will be there for closing arguments through the sentencing to show the support of our community. Let me tell you that many years ago, a young man was killed named Martin Lee Anderson in a boot camp in Florida. I met a young, fiery lawyer. I had thought that I would not see the likes of a Johnny Cochran again, but I met this young man who then a couple of years later became the lawyer for Trayvon Martin. He has put his shoulder to the wheel and has earned the faith and trust of not only black America, but Americans all over. And it is with confidence that we deal with him. When he calls, National Action Network's there. I'm on the next plane. He can explain it to me when I get there.
Amen.
He has earned our respect and regard. He's the attorney for both of the families that I've just discussed, and he was our main interpreter today at the convention. May we hear from the Attorney General of Black America, Ben Crump.
That's right. That's right. You know, Reverend Al, it was most appropriate that when we got the announcement that the county attorney, Peter Orput, had decided that the charges of second-degree manslaughter would go forward against Officer Potter for the killing of 20-year-old Dante Wright, that we were having a session with the mothers of the movement here at the National Action Network's convention. We had on stage with us Sequette Clark, the mother of Stephon Clark, Sabrina Fulton, the mother of Trayvon Martin, Gwen Carr, as you all know, the mother of Eric Gardner here in New York, and Leslie McSpadden, the mother of Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri. And Reverend Al, the reason I point all of that out and why it is so very important the reason why we are able to get an opportunity at due process so quickly in the state of Minnesota for the killing of Dante Wright is because of the blood of their children. It was the blood of their children who got us to this point now in America. Because remember, Leslie didn't get due process. Right. The police officer was never charged and arrested like the officer was today. Gwen Carr, as you all know, she never got due process. Nobody was ever arrested and had to face evidence and witnesses in a court of law for choking Eric Gardner. Sequette Clark never ever got due process in Sacramento when Stephon Clark was killed in his grandmother's backyard. And Sabrina Fulton, my Lord, the sacrifices of what she has given and how Trayvon Martin has propelled the notion that Black Lives Matter and that we should get equal justice under the law is the reason why on this day in 2021, in less than a week, Reverend Al, in less than a week, the district attorney made the decision that we will charge this officer and the family of Dante Wright will get to have their day in court. So we say justice for Dante Wright, and yeah, we're going to say justice here in New York for Dante Wright, so they can hear it in Minnesota to know that we're coming. And in saying justice for Dante Wright, we're also saying justice for Michael Brown. We're also saying justice for Eric Gardner. We're also saying justice for Trayvon Martin. And we're also saying justice for Stephon Clark. And Jacob Blake. And we also are saying justice for George Floyd. And all of those we lost. Justice for Breonna Taylor, justice for Terrence Crutcher, justice for Alton Sterling, justice for Philando Castile. The list can go on and on and on. So we include everybody in our quest for equal justice under the law. I'm so very proud to stand with my mentor, Reverend Al, and these mothers, because I understand that we are all connected here. We are all connected. And as we wait on the jury to start deliberations next week in what I believe is the most consequential trial regarding the police excessive use of force against marginalized minorities in the Derek Chauvin trial regarding the killing of George Floyd, I am just shocked. And I am upset. I am outraged. It's just so unconscionable and unbelievable, Reverend Al, that within 10 miles from where the trial regarding the killing of George Floyd is taking place, that a police officer will yet again kill another unarmed black man. If ever there was a time in America when the police should be on their greatest behavior, their best behavior. If ever there was a time when they should use their best standard of care, if ever there was a time when they should use their best discretion, if ever there was a time, Reverend Al, when they should be de-escalating on every situation, it should be now, and especially in Minnesota.
That's right.
I mean, it's just unfathomable.
Same county.
Same county. I mean, we're going to have the funeral at the same spot where George Floyd was killed almost a year ago. I mean, it's just, I cannot even believe it that this officer would engage in that use of force. I mean, it's like Reverend Al said, they could have given him a ticket. And I know we're going to have a press conference in Minnesota tomorrow and get into the legalese, but please understand this. Please understand this, Sabrina and everybody here. We all dealing with a pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic. DMVs all over the country have been shut down. In Minnesota, they've been short-staffed. So people can't get their